relative to its overall continued operation. So, and unfortunately, it doesn't track CPI, it won't track CPI. It doesn't mean it's a waste of money. It's a decision that has to be made relative to keeping these facilities. And I think you're on the right track. We should come back, show you where the expenses have been going. I think that they'll answer most of these questions, and they'll be very helpful, I think, to getting at the reason why these costs go up. And remember, we've had good luck 2 times in a row. We've had 12 and 13 years between rate increases. There is some cost averaging there that also takes place on the front end to get the additional benefit on the back end of that period of time.
As I said before, this is like the intro to the main event, which will be when we're actually discussing the ordinance that will change the rates. And as we add here, subtract there, or we don't add any there, but I think that we need this information to settle our heads and to explain it better to the public.
Mr. Chairman, I would also say that the city's overall budget has been going up by 2%.
Did you have more questions?
Yeah, I just want to touch on a few more things. So one thing I was curious about, so if you expand the operational hours, I mean, what impact will that have on your operational costs? Are you going to need another person?
Well, currently we have 1 full-time person and we had 2 part-time personnel that we, back a year and a half or so ago, we eliminated 1 full-time position and we went to 2 part-time positions to get the amount of hours of coverage we need. Currently we have 1 full-time, 1 part-time enforcement officer, and we are looking to put that 3rd person back on. Is not because of increase in violations, it's more of being able to cover the amount of hours that we need for the downtown for compliance.
I guess my final question here. So my understanding is there's a surplus in the parking fund right now. Is that correct?
Yeah. Right, there's a fund balance, yeah.
Okay, so, and the parking fund is supposed to be revenue neutral, right? Is that correct?
No, that's not a true statement. We're
So
supposed to present a balanced budget, but each year, I mean, the real world works that each year, sometimes you're going to spend more, sometimes your income is going to be up, sometimes your expenses will be up, sometimes they'll be down. You never go in with a balanced budget and spend 100%, not a cent more, not a cent less, recognize revenue of not a cent more, not a cent less. So what you said, that is not an accurate statement.
But how much is the surplus again?
At the end of FY 13, our fund balance was $706,000.
And suppose that nothing was done, so revenues, nothing was changed, how long would that surplus fund the parking fund?
We would be out of money sometime in FY 18. All things being equal.
Okay, so this is really not an emergency then. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your questions. I think other answers will be forthcoming. I'll go to the committee first. Well, who pushes
To go along with the city manager stated, and if we remember around 2007, oil was $70 a barrel. Then about a year or 2 later, it was $150 a barrel. Those all have important costs. Gas is costs more to drive around the city. Doing asphalt repairs costs more. So there's so many things that go up and down. You had the problem in the Crimea. Oil went up $4 a barrel, then it went up gas went up 10 cents in one day. All those have an effect. So there's no way that you can sit down there and budget out all those changes, unexpected changes that come. The parking committee, the parking department has to adjust to those, and sometimes they make surpluses, sometimes they have deficits. And to go with the question, like I said earlier, looking at the numbers, we would lose, with no change, we'd lose $1.7 we'd go into debt by $1.7 million by fiscal year '20. By fiscal year '17, the whole debt the whole surplus that we have now would disappear, and then we would not be in a position as a city, as the city manager goes, the circle of doom or the cycle of doom. We would then be in the cycle of doom because we would not have any resources whatsoever to repair any of the stuff that we have.
I'm going to regret saying that.
That's the first time.
It's actually called the doom loop, and
The doom loop,
Yeah,
okay.
and it's actually what happens to an aircraft when
Yeah.
it starts to go into a fall.
I went to the Keene State College City meeting where they were talking about their differences and such like that. And one of the best things that came out of that was the idea that we shouldn't be promoting parking, we should be promoting less parking. We should be promoting, people not driving and such like that. Well, I may be naive in, considering our control over multinational corporations and things like that. But as far as paying the bills every day, I'm not naive. And what intrigues me about this whole thing is the question that I asked the city manager is this is gonna put us on some, if we think about this and go forward with letting them put an ordinance together that we can look at later, it's gonna put us on some financial footing so that in the future, we can have some real ability to look at the solutions that we're gonna have to look at in the next couple, 3 years, believing that people aren't going to lessen their need for parking and things like that. It's going to increase, and we're gonna need to deal with that in 2 or 3 years. So if we have an ordinance in place that's going to allow us to afford to pay back bonds that are gonna allow us to put in place some of the things that we really need, I think that we ought to let the staff go ahead and put together some numbers and a plan that they can bring back to us later, that we can look at and put in place.
Thank you. Public comments, councilor comments?
Hi, Jason Denonville of 12 Rule Street. I'm curious about this extended enforcement hours to 7 PM. Did any businesses actually approach the city requesting those hours?
They haven't approached the city. I have talked to some of the business owners in the downtown area and explained to them what our process is. And again, this was just to get an idea of, from the city council on direction, and there'll be a lot more discussion when it comes out to the ordinance. What we have found is, again, the reason why we do what we do is to coincide with the hours of operations of the downtown businesses. That's the partnership that we have with the city of Keene with our businesses to make sure that they have the ability to have customers reach their store. So we will continue to discuss with them. We do communicate with a lot of the downtown business owners by Ginger Hill, our parking operations manager. She keeps them informed of what we're doing and the things that we're doing.
Thank you very much.
More public? Councilors? Staff is still awake? Committee, what's your pleasure to proceed? Choices are, we can recommend as the recommendation is saying here, directing staff to prepare an ordinance, we can have more conversation.
Just one comment. Yeah, I will, despite my trepidation, to tread cautiously, I will vote to move forward. At this point, it's only informational. We're directing city staff for the ordinance, so we can actually read exactly what's being presented. When it is presented, like I said, I do have a lot of yellow and red flags that are flying in front of me, but I think we owe it to staff to at least proceed and put something solid in front of us to actually make a vote on.
Any other comments prior to motion making? Who's up?
Move that the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee recommend that the report be accepted as informational and to direct staff to prepare an ordinance for first reading.
Second.
Motion and a second. I would say, as a comment, some very good comments came forth, and there's some questions that I think staff will have really good answers as this ordinance comes forward.
Thank you.
And there will be a lot more discussion.
Sure, Mr. Chair, we did keep track of some of the questions that were going on, and again, we'll track through the meeting minutes. So,
Thank you.
we'll do it all.
Any last chance? Questions, comments, committee? All in favor? All in favor? 5-0. Thank you all. No, it's not adjourned. It's, okay, now, I think it's over, but please turn the page.